Hi. So I just got this new webcam thing and I'm trying it out. And so we're going to see how this works because I really don't know how this works. But I wanted to make a video that was more of an introduction video. And yes, it's more helpful to talk to an actual like camera lens, but I'm still going to look around a lot. So I'm sorry about that. So I wanted to do a video that I've tried to do like 6,000 times. I counted. I really did. That's not true. I didn't count. Um, but I wanted to give a little bit more information about myself, some more background, some things that you may want to know, may not want to know, um, especially if you don't know me in real life. And even if you do know me in real life, perhaps this would give you some different perspectives about me. I don't know. I'm not sure. I found that part of the reason why I'm having a problem doing this is excuse me, because sorry, my cat's also next to me, so she's doing cat things, which are very distracting. Um, but yeah, so one of the things that made this very difficult for me, one, I don't like talking about myself. I can talk all day long about a lot of things, but talking about myself is very difficult, especially in this type of setting that's very vulnerable. Um, I could talk to you all day long, in person. Uh, I could talk to a room full of people as long as I had like a podium or something. I can talk to people, you know, writing wise, because that's kind of my more natural place is in the written form. Um, but when it comes to like talk even in therapy, like talking just openly about these things is very difficult. I'm also that person that has a very, very, very hard time with interview questions like, so tell me about yourself. Or when you meet someone new and they want to know random small, you know, talk things. I don't do well in that. Now, if you ask me what my feelings are on the philosophy of pick anything, I will gladly sit there and talk to you for as long as you'll listen. But this is difficult, so bear with me. I'm going to give you some fast facts and some of the deeper reasons why I'm doing these videos. And if you have questions, you can certainly ask. But please know that I I can only answer for me personally, um, unless I confer with anybody else. If it has to do with my family or things like that, there's some confidentiality things I'd like to discuss with them first, especially because this is all new for me and this is, it's taken a long time for my family to even open up and talk about a lot of things. So, that being said, oh, and also because I've realized, especially within the last week, that being authentic is really hard, and sometimes you're not authentic with yourself, and I think a lot of times we're not authentic with ourselves because it's uncomfortable, because we've been taught that it's not okay, um, to really dig deep in and think about the things about why we think the way we do and why we act the way we do and why we say what we do. And for me personally, on this, it has been blaringly obvious this week. Um, and I think too, this is why this has taken me like 6 gajillion times to make this damn video, because I wasn't being totally authentic with myself and you guys. I was trying to make it perfect, and I was trying to make it, you know, funny and quirky and give you things that you may or may not want to know, and like try to do it in a way that sounded cool. I don't know what. I really don't. I just um it's just very hard to do these things because I don't know. I get hung up on if I say too much or if I don't say enough or I don't say the right things or whatever. This also could be because I'm not quite there on the medication thing, so my brain is kind of on like a train wreck crash course right now, as far as anxiety is concerned. Um, I'm just second guessing every single thing that I do and say and think. But that's for another day. So here we go. So things about me. My name is Jen. If you didn't know already, I'm a 2N Jen. I feel that's important to say because some of us are 2Ns and some of us are 1Ns and some of us don't give a shit. Let's see the fun random facts. I'm a redhead, as you can see. I have hazel eyes, so I don't know why that matters. I just like the fact that I have hazel eyes because they change. They change with what I wear, so that's kind of cool. Um, I'm married. I'm married to a woman, and we've been married. Well, we had our ceremony 10 years ago, and then we got legally married in 2015 when it was legal in Ohio. Um, and let's see, her name is Kathy. She's wonderful. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me my entire life. And also, never in a million years would I have ever believed that I would be married to a woman at this point. And that's a whole other topic, but we'll get to that one day. We have two fluff balls for kitties, two kids, two cats that are our fluff balls, who are our kids. We don't have any biological children. We're not planning on having them. Um, but we do have these two fluffy kitty cats, Smokey and Miley. I'm sorry, my phone is going off a lot, and that's a little distracting. So, yeah, so my cats, they are our kids. We are crazy cat ladies, and that was one thing that I wanted to be growing up. Yes, I really did. I really was that person that was like, I want to be the crazy cat lady on the corner. You know, that big old house on the corner that some of the neighborhood kids are a little bit nervous to go to because they think that some witch lives there or something. I don't know. And then they come to my house and then I give them really awesome Halloween offerings. And they're like, "This is the coolest lady ever." So I don't think I'm there yet. I don't know. That's a little bit conceited. But as far as the cat lady part goes, absolutely 100%. And if it weren't for my wife and our cats, I would have more. I would have all of them. They would all be here. Um, I digress. So let's see what else. I am 36. So that will give you some background information as far as my upbringing and the time frame of which I was growing up and why certain things didn't happen like they would today, such as being flagged as a at-risk person, um, or noticed in school on certain levels, noticed in different interactions. We just, being born in the 80s and growing up in that time frame, um, you know, the mental health field was being revamped. Like it was kind of had just had an overhaul, and there's still a lot to learn. Like there's still we are so not there yet. So as far as that's concerned, that's why I didn't get diagnosed until much later in life, and also because of the upbringing that I had, the community I was in, the belief systems that I was around and in, and also just family. Um, we all there's mental illness on both sides of my family, and also growing up or in the time frame that my parents grew up, they just these are things that we just didn't talk about. So that gives you, I guess, an overview of how it took from me to get from A to B. I'm not saying that there weren't people who thankfully got diagnosed much earlier in life, but for some of us, especially in certain communities and families and belief systems, um, it just took a long time, um, for me personally to get there and be accepting of help, but also because the information just wasn't there. And if it was there, it wasn't easily accessible because these were things we just didn't talk about. And also, if you live in a family system that your cuckoo is the same as your whole family's cuckoo, it's kind of hard to recognize that you're cuckoo, right? So, and I don't mean that offensively. Please don't take that offensively, but you know what I'm saying. Um, so yeah, so uh, it took me a long time to get to therapy. I'm trying to think of other fun things that you might want to know about me. I'm an artist. I am a writer at heart. I I love singing. I love dancing. I love corny jokes. Um, if there's a pun, I will use it, much to dismay. and of others, and much to my chagrin sometimes. But that's okay. I'll still snicker and laugh to myself, and that's okay if people don't get it. Um, I came from a small town. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. So there is some Midwesternese in me. Okay, there's a lot of Midwesternese in me. And especially growing up in a small town, the things that come with that are um, are also going to factor in a lot to my upbringing and where I am now. So, and if you know, if you, I'm not knocking small towns, they're beautiful, wonderful things, but they're also these things that exist in these bubbles sometimes. And if you live in a small town, you know what I'm saying. Especially if it has a very religious bent to it. Um, so keep that in mind whenever I talk about things. Again, not knocking it. It's just there are some things, right? So I grew up very religious. I grew up in the church. I currently am not a practicing anything, quote unquote. I don't follow any organized religion. However, I am a very spiritual person. And I find that there are a lot of different things that speak to me, whether it come from Buddhism or Christianity or Judaism or even some things in Islam speak to me. You know, I follow a lot of different things. There are some things in the Wicca tradition and some pagan things that I find very beautiful to my soul. So pretty much I follow my soul. I go with the spirits leading, and so far that has served me well. I found that I'm just not a person that can do well in an organized place for very long. I mean, I have a lot of friends who do, and that's great, and to each their own, and that's fine. But it's a personal path and journey, and it's a personal relationship with whatever entity you call the divine or not, however you want to see it. And so yeah, so that's where I fall on that. Um, I am a hippie child. My mom has called me a hippie child since day one. I'm also a little bit of an activist. Okay, a lot of an activist, like to the point that she said that I came out of the womb with a soapbox. um, so so this is why I'm passionate about these things, and also because, um, sorry, my foot's falling asleep. Also because I didn't yeah, I didn't have a lot of resources growing up, and so um or I didn't know about them, I guess I should say. And it's certainly not as available and accessible as it is today. So I'm making these videos for for people because I wanna reach out and let the younger people out there know, that you're not alone and there's things um, that you can find help on, hopefully quicker than I did. Also, for those of us or those of you that may be still wondering whether you should get help or not, or if you just are curious about something, um, and perhaps you came from my generation or the generations prior to mine, where it's still a little bit scary to step out and talk about these things. Mental health is my biggest passion as far as these videos are concerned. Um, Especially because I have learned that from learning from other people's experiences, it has helped me a great deal, and also just to talk about the real stuff, like, like I said in my very first post to that, I'm not gonna doll myself up every time. I mean, I might sometimes, but my goal here is to be real and authentic and show you the day-to-day life of what it's like to live with mental illness. But not just that, just life in general and being a human, and being two-legged, because it's real hard sometimes to be human. Um, and I just want to talk about it because we don't. And Midwesterners, you all know this. Like, we just don't talk about things sometimes. It's better to just smile and nod and walk away and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine." And that's bullshit, and we all know it. So let's start this journey. And if you want to come with me, great. If you won't, if you don't, that's okay. I'm gonna label like a lot of the videos. I don't know if I'm repeating myself from my very first video, but I just wanted to give a little bit more of a broader overview, especially if you don't know me. Now, there's a real lengthy explanation on my WordPress site, um, but um, this is kind of a little more brief, I guess, for those of you that don't want to take the time to read all that. The wisecracked Jay, I will say that comes from the fact that blue jays are kind of on my they aren't kind of, they are my totem. They're part of my totem. Um, and if you don't believe in that kind of stuff, that's fine. But just know that some of us identify with certain things in life, and blue jays for me is one of those. Um, because for a long, long time, I really, really hated blue jays. I'm not gonna lie. I thought they were mean. I thought they were obnoxious. I thought that they were just jerks. Always being mean to the other birds and all this stuff until I met my wife. And my wife explained to me that blue jays actually are very misunderstood birds. They're highly intelligent. They they do they do some asshole things sometimes. But sometimes it's because they're bold and they're loud and they're obnoxious and they announce themselves and and sometimes people see that the wrong way, right? So sometimes what blue jays will do is they'll be real big assholes and they'll just bully everybody out of the way. And I can admit I've been that person. Also, they will sometimes they will sometimes like pretend to make calls of hawks, and then that will like scatter the little other birdies so that they can go down and eat and stuff. And I mean, I'm a little mischievous like that sometimes. But the cool thing about blue jays is that it reminds us that sometimes we are allowed to be bold. It reminds us that we don't have to always be quiet whenever things are necessary, because one of the coolest things about blue jays is if there is an actual hawk in the area, they go ape shit and they tell every living freaking bird in the realm. They're like, hey, there's a freaking, I'm gonna squawk my ass off right now because there's a hawk and you all need to take cover because he's out there, or she, could be either one. Um, and so that's pretty cool, right? So they bring attention to an issue. And so that's one thing that I've had to kind of come to terms with in myself, that sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm obnoxious, sometimes I'm kind of a bull in a china closet, and sometimes I run my mouth, and that's a part of me that I have to work on and work with. That's what makes me human, but also because sometimes the beauty of it is that sometimes I do need to be bold, and sometimes I do need to speak up, and sometimes I do need to say, hey, there's a problem here. And so that's where kind of the name came from. Wisecracked is because wise ass I didn't think would get a lot of people to look, because there's a certain group of people that don't prefer language like that. Um, and also the cracked part is because sometimes I do feel like I'm a bit of a crackpot, and a cracked pot, I should say, broken a little bit. But that doesn't mean that it's not still usable or fixable, right? So that's the beauty of it. Um, Enough about birds, I guess. And I wasn't saying that like I'm super intelligent. Like I didn't mean to sound super conceited about that. Um, for me, it just reminds me that intelligence and smartness doesn't always come in the same box as everybody thinks it does. Like obviously, like I'm not out here solving any quantum physics questions or whatever. And I was never that kid in school that was like the top student. Now I had good grades, right? But I had to work for those grades, you know, whereas other people it just came so easily for them. Um, my intelligence lies in different avenues, I guess. And I guess I just want to say that um, because you know everybody's smart and everybody's artistic in their own little ways, right? And everybody is beautiful in their own perfect little way. And I think that we hem people into these stupid little boxes sometimes, and it really pisses me off. Um, so that's another reason, for all this. I want to explore and help people see the beauty in themselves, and kind of think outside that box, right? So yeah, so there's where the name came from, and also because they're blue, and blue is my favorite color. Blue jays are blue, and this is a theme too, because like a sign for my happiness and when I feel like things are going to turn around for me. Again, yeah, I'm a little bit into the woo woo shit. Um, bluebirds are a sign for me. And so it's a blue thing, which is awesome because blue obviously is my favorite color, if you can see back there. Um, I don't know what else to share with you other than I have, I guess the hard stuff. So, um, the real hard stuff. Um, my diagnoses are generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. I did at one time have adjustment disorder, which is also sometimes called stress response syndrome on my diagnoses sheet. Um, and then also anxiety and depression. And depression is that happy ass little friend that comes, well, not happy ass, I say that tongue in cheek, um, that that is like the plus one that you didn't really have, that invites themselves everywhere, whether you like to or not. Um, so we'll talk about that. Um, things that I've dealt with. So I am a suicide attempt survivor. Suicide has probably been on my mind since at least age 13 in some form or fashion. I've had one serious attempt. I've had several very serious considerations. Um, and it's just a constant companion for me. Um, although I'm doing a lot better in that aspect most days. But again, it's always there. I have engaged in self harm. I am in recovery for self harm. Um, but just like every addiction, it's there. It's going to be there, and it's a day to day decision, right? Thankfully, I'm far enough away from it right now that I can speak from a different place, but I also know what it feels like to be in the middle of it. I am a suicide loss survivor. So I've had a family member, I've had a close friend, I've had people in my life that have lost their lives to suicide. So that's something I can speak to. And also the complicated grief that comes along with being a suicide attempt survivor and a suicide loss survivor. There's some complicated feelings in that. Being in the LGBTQIA plus community, that brings its own set of things. Being outside the norm, quote unquote, social structure of the environment that I live in is difficult too. I.e., being not Christian, quote unquote, as far as other people are concerned, um, not being religious, those types of things, and also just my hippie ass self, some cockamamie ideas that I have that just about love and energy and the universe and things like that. That kind of puts me in a different category as well, and that's made life difficult for me sometimes. Um, some of the other hard things that I've dealt with, um, I've lost friendships. Um, yeah, I've lost friendships. I grew up without certain people in my life due to certain things. Family members, like you know, um, I didn't know either of my grandfathers, so that's a thing. That's a hole in my life, and just different things like that. So we can go really into a lot of rabbit holes here, but I'm just kind of, again, like I said, trying to give some basic information about myself so you kind of get to know me a little bit. Um, I feel like I don't know what else to say at this point. So, more videos to come. I'm sorry that there's been a lull. Like I said, I've been trying to make this video like for the last solid 3 weeks, and it's been, I feel like a failure every single time. Um, but I do have a lot of things that I want to talk about, and I'm hoping to continue on and do better at speaking to you guys more frequently. And I'm sorry, my phone is just blowing up over here. So yeah, so I want to give some hope to you all, and I try not to. I'm truly humbled. I really am humbled that if this is really helping anybody out there, great, awesome. I am humbled by that. And I don't want to seem conceited at all in that I think that I'm helping anyone, because to be quite honest with you, I feel like a failure a lot these days. And I don't know if it's really helping anybody. And, um, but my hope is, if it is, awesome. If it can just reach one person, to know that they're not alone in some crazy little things going on in their heads or hearts, great, because sometimes, and even this week for me, somebody has reached out and said something to me, and it changed the whole dynamic of that moment for me. It was something, and it can be just something small, right? Just a word of encouragement, or hey, you're not crazy, you know? Um, and so I'm hoping that that's what I can extend to you all. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to enable the comments. I think, hopefully, if I get brave enough to do so. And again, I'm not going to break any confidentiality with other people, but if you want to ask directly something about me, that's great. Um, and I will try to get better about speaking, because I say a lot, and I look around a lot, and I'm working on it, people. Okay, I'm just being real. So I hope that you all have a good day, and peace and blessings. And I am out from my first time on this little webcam doohickey thing, and I hope that I shared enough information. Oh, yeah, I guess I should say that therapy. I've been in therapy since 2015. It took a long road to get there. It took a very big incident in my life, to make me get there. Not to say that I should not have been diagnosed really, really early in my life, because I had a lot of crap that went down, and there was a lot of times I should have gotten help. And there's a lot of people that, well, not a lot, there was a pocket full of people, especially two people in particular, that tried to push real hard for me to get into therapy. One being one of my very closest friends, who actually is a therapist, and I pretty much knocked her, for a long time, and told her that it was bullshit, and that they just fill your head with ideas and they make you take medication, and I don't want any part of that. Even though I wanted to be a therapist at one point growing up. So it's kind of ironic, but I think deep down I just knew that this was where I was going to end up. However, it took me a great long time to get to the place where I finally said, "Yeah, okay, I can't handle this." And I started therapy, and it's been a beautiful mess. It's wonderful and awful and awesome all at the same time, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's truly the second best thing that's happened to me in my life, other than meeting my wife. So with that being said, know that if you are wondering about it, um, that no, I didn't just like start therapy and it was perfect. It's been a long journey, right? Um, so you're not alone in thinking, gosh, I don't know what I want to do, and oh, this is bullshit or whatever. Listen, like, it's a hard journey for some of us, right? It really is. And I'm just here to encourage you that you can find hope and help and happiness. And though the trail and path may be hard at times, um, the path to yourself is the best one you can take. And so, with that, I am out. Peace out, people.